and a resolution appointing a member to the Stormwater Utility Board, and that is Perry Townsend, and that's a term expiring August 1st, 2017.
Okay, we have our consent agenda. We'll do Tom first, and then we will approve our consent agenda. So Tom, will you come forward? And I'd also like to invite your wife to come forward as well, if she'd like to. What is your name? Janet. Janet, it's nice to meet you. It's good to see you as well. I wanted you to come forward because I know that you have sat home many hours, many nights, many times during his service here in our community. So we give thanks for your support of him and for all the good work that you have done for our city of Piqua. So with that, I have a resolution to read tonight. It's resolution number R-40-16. It's a resolution of appreciation for this public service of Thomas S. Christie as a city employee. Whereas Thomas S. Christie has retired as Deputy Police Chief with the Police Department, and whereas his retirement follows over 35 years of faithful and dedicated service to the city and its citizens, now therefore be it resolved by the Commission of the City of Piqua, Miami County, Ohio, all members elected thereto concurring, that in recognition and appreciation of the public service of Thomas S. Christie as Deputy Police Chief with the Police Department, this commission tenders its unanimous and respectful tribute by this resolution, which shall be a matter of public and permanent record. This resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law. Thank you again so much for your service.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one thing, and that is I feel it's my duty to thank all of you and all your predecessors for giving me this opportunity. It's been a wonderful career. I've enjoyed working here for the nearly 36 years. Haven't enjoyed every minute of it, but most of it has been good. But worked for 5 different police chiefs. One thing they've all had in common, Chief Jameson as well, and that is they've demanded excellence from their employees. And I would only ask that the commissioners continue the same thing and don't expect it, but demand excellence, because they have the people there to do it, and I feel very confident in their ability. And so don't expect it, but demand it, and they'll come through. Thank you again.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Tom.
again. Thank you very much. So now do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, moving on to old business. Ordinance number 2-16, and this is our third reading for this, and this actually has been amended from the last meeting.
An ordinance amending Chapter 30, Section 30.15, Rules of Conduct for Meetings of the Piqua Municipal Code.
Ms. Wall will provide the staff report.
Thank you. This is the third reading, and again, this ordinance was requested or initiated out of a work session that the City Commission had. It does clarify what the procedural order would be during a meeting. It clarifies that when state law requires a public hearing, those speaking during that public hearing will be sworn in, because it's more in the format of testimony rather than just public comment. It also clarifies that the traditional public comment that we have been doing after every agenda item would be at the beginning of the meeting. So public comment's not being eliminated, it's just being moved to the beginning of the meeting rather than throughout the meeting. As a result of the second reading, it was requested, excuse me, that the ordinance be reviewed to make sure that it was consistent in its language. Some places indicated public forum and other places indicated open forum. I have done that, and in section 30.15B and C, all those words were changed to be consistent so that they all say public forum.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the commission?
Well, I received a few calls or emails on this, and I went out and talked to some other people to see what their opinions were, and everyone that I talked to agreed that moving the public announcement part of the meeting forward made a lot of sense. But I didn't find anyone who agreed with eliminating the comment throughout the agenda. So they felt almost unanimously that this would take away from some of their right to give us input, because if we receive their input and then we start meeting on the agenda item later and something comes up during that discussion that is new, then they would have no way to give us their opinion on that, because obviously at the beginning of the meeting they didn't know what changes we may be talking about or what we're proposing. So it was pretty well unanimous that the preference would be, again, to bring the announcements to the beginning and then to leave the rest of the meeting as we've always done it forever. So that's the input I received so far.
If I could clarify on that comment, it doesn't matter where public comment is, if it's at the beginning or throughout, they wouldn't be able to comment anyhow in that scenario, because the rules already state you get to comment one time. So if they came up, after, say, right after this ordinance, we're gonna call for public comment, and they come up, the commission discusses it, and the person sits down and goes, oh, well, now I think something different. They can't come back up tonight. The rules already state you get to come up one time, that's it. So regardless of when public comment is, it wouldn't change that reasoning.
There's still a perception that we're not listening to the people and of everyone that I talk to. So
I got a phone call and some emails about this also. Basically the same thing as Joe. They think that by putting public comment at the beginning of the meeting, when we do public comment now, commission speaks first, then we call for public comment. So they've heard what we're going to say. And if they have something that they want to say, they're more informed of where we're thinking if we have public comment after each resolution and ordinance. And I talked to some people and I did a survey, and out of all the people I talked to, every one of them thought that by doing what we were doing, we were taking away the public's right to comment. They knew they could still make a comment at the beginning of the meeting, but their thing was that if we were talking about something and what we talked about turned into a powder keg, if they talked in the beginning of the meeting, they couldn't say anything. But if we have it after every resolution, every ordinance, then they could come up and either say we're doing it right or we're doing it wrong. So I think we should leave that part of the meeting the same.
I'm inclined to agree. A couple people mentioned that, and paranoia has taken over to think that by doing this, we're trying to put something, pull a fast one on them. And no, we're not trying to pull a fast one on anybody, but you cannot stop that perception. I feel that maybe we ought to just leave it the way it is, with possibly leaving the change of the beginning of the meeting where somebody could come up and make an announcement rather than sit through the whole meeting to wait to come up here to make an announcement. So I would like to see it change back to the way that it has been over the years.
Any other comments from commissioners?
It doesn't make any difference to me when the public comment is. But it doesn't bother me that it's within the time frame of what we're discussing.
Okay. Any public comment on this ordinance?
Chuck Sterrett, 4244 Demi Road. I was pretty upset when I seen how this was going to be taken up, and I think everybody explained what the other people had told them that they felt was happening. And, you know, we have a charter that states we have a right to speak, and it's in Section 4 of the charter, and it clearly states, except for executive session, not open to the public, All meetings of the commission and of the committees thereof shall be open to the public, and the rules of the commission shall provide that citizens of the city shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard at any such meeting in regard to any matter considered thereof. And I think a person cannot come up at the start of a meeting, like you were saying, it wouldn't work, and how would he give a comment on 8 ordinances and do it all within it won't work, and then you're just gonna have turmoil, and that's, we don't want that. We don't want the turmoil. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I appreciate you guys listen to your citizens, what they told you. I respect that. The other thing I wanted to point out was I would prefer you to take a look at the charter under the guidelines of the minutes of the meetings. It clearly states that the minutes should be in detail of what goes on, who spoke, what was said, what the reactions were. It's right in the charter. And the reason being is, if someone wants to come up, like I was out of town on vacation, I couldn't get, the minutes didn't say anything, it just said so-and-so came up and gave his views. And I know that sounds like enough, but I don't know what his views were against or for, or what the debate was, and I think that's the reason you have detailed minutes, and it's stated right in the charter that it's got to be that way. So I'd appreciate you correcting that. And so I know that they want to post this out here in front of the commission, which is fine. But I also would like to see this posted, which is the organizational structure of Piqua. And I think I'll let you have this. But it clearly states the structure of the government of Piqua, which is the citizens, then the commission, then their boards of directors. And I think people need to know that they have a voice, and that was the whole point about the whole thing. So I'm thankful that you can clear this up, and we can move forward with the right things to do. I know Mr. Huff, I had to bring this up because it was comical when we was having so much turmoil a few years ago, and you all know about that. And in 2006, I think there was 2 commissioners on here when the first thing was enacted. In 2012, there was 4 of the commissioners on the commission. At the time, they restricted it the way it is now. And so we had a new city manager being selected, which was Gary Huff. And I thought, oh, who are we going to get? And so they picked him. And so I did a little research, and I got to tell this story. You got to let me say it. But anyway, I did some research where he was in Fishers, Indiana. And one of the commissioners or councilmen, whichever you call him, got so mad, he jumped up and broke the gavel and walked out of the room. And he was mad because Gary, Mr. Huff, wanted to have the work sessions in the chambers or whatever bigger area than the conference room because it felt too intimidating to some people, and he wanted more people, and he wanted to hear from more input from the citizens. So I respected that from the beginning, and I think things had calmed down greatly since he's been here. So I appreciate your time, and I won't take up any more time because you cleared up my questions, and I just want to point those issues out. Thank you for your time. Anything, is that enough? Okay? Thank you.
Okay, if there, we have one more.
Jim Hemmert, Boone Street, Piqua. From the first part of your meeting this evening, I think that there's a possibility of some things changing for the good and keeping some things the same. I agree with the commissioners that if you're having proclamations, announcements of upcoming events, which I have been a part of for many years, coming up and telling about different events. Lorna Swisher from Main Street Piqua has come up and talked about different events. We have all come up and talked about accomplishments that have been done in the city of Piqua. So I can see that part and appreciate that part, that if you come up and make your comments and then leave. But as far as when a resolution is made, unless Mr. Huff says to Mr. Burtner or Mr. Davis, can you elaborate on this? If you're trying to talk about it, give your public comment before it's been elaborated on, you don't know what's going to go on. So I would like for you to really consider how you restructure this thing. Thank you.
So how do we go about amending this to get what we want?
You have to table it at this point. You can't amend on a third reading the substantive changes that are being proposed. And I would clarify that for purposes of the minutes, it's not in the charter, it's in the ordinances, and the clerk and I have met several times about what goes in those minutes and what the requirements are, so there's no issue with the minutes, which is also not part of the ordinance that's proposed here tonight. And while the charter requires public comment, you haven't taken that away by this ordinance. Public comment still exists, it's just where you're putting it at in the meeting.
Well, I'd like, if we're going to table it, before we table it, in my opinion, direction would be to bring the proclamations and announcements to the beginning of the meeting, and then anything relating to any ordinance or resolution would be conducted during the meeting as we've done in the past. So that's the direction I think we should go.
So I make a motion, we table this to reconstruct the ordinance to the terms that Joe just discussed.
Second?
Okay, we have a roll call vote.
Mayor Hines,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to our new business then. Resolution number R-44-16.
A resolution authorizing a purchase order to Goodwin Pumps of America for the purchase of a portable 6-inch diesel pump and hoses for all water utility departments.
Mr. Davis will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Gary. As you can see in your packet, this unit is new to our fleet. It is a brand-new pump. It will be divided amongst the wastewater, the water, and the stormwater utilities as far as the funding for it. It is a state bid contract purchase. The unit will be used by all the divisions that we just discussed and for emergencies within the city of Piqua. It's mounted on a two-wheel trailer with a 60-gallon fuel tank. It comes with PM kits, and the quote also included the suction and discharge hoses. It also carries a 2,000-hour, one-year warranty. All the department heads met, and we discussed this particular pump because it was the state bid contract pump, and everybody was in approval with the type and the engine type. With the new air rules that have just come out on diesel engines, this is going to be a new motor. The new diesel regulations will require all new motors have this special, what they call fourth generation air cleaning equipment on it. And this particular one will have it, but their bid is up in June, and obviously it's going to be readjusted as far as pricing. So I know we're going to see quite a bit of an increase in the cost of these pumps in the future.
Dave, can you talk a little bit about some of the emergencies that we're faced with?
The main reason that we would be using this is for large water main breaks, issues at both the wastewater plant and the water plant where we need to pump water from one tank to another in order to help the process out. I don't see it being used all the time because it is a very large pump. So it's not going to be something that's going to be used every single day, but it will come into play on some major water main breaks.
I'd like to say something too.
Okay.
You're so, I'm Dave Bertner, Utilities Director. And about a year ago, when we had high flows and high water out at the water plant, out at the quarry or the gravel pit where we pull a lot of our water, we had some flooding out there, and therefore we had to go rent some big pumps. So this would be a start towards
being able to have our own equipment and on hand and here, so in case of emergency, we can use it right away. So it'll also be used in, if we would happen to have a storm sewer backup or a sanitary sewer backup in one of our large mains, we can also put it in and utilize it to get the flow down so we don't flood homes or basements.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Do we have any pumps in between the 6-inch going down, like a 3-inch pump, 2-inch pump?
Yeah, we have quite a few 2-inch pumps down at the wastewater plant, and I think we have 1 3 and 1 4. Underground Utilities has quite a large array of the smaller pumps to help them take care of smaller water main breaks, but this one would be for the larger issues.
So how many of the other ones are diesel and how many are gas?
Actually, most of Underground Utilities are gas. A lot of ours are electric. They're just small 2-inch, like sump pumps.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Do we have any public comment on this resolution? Okay, if not, let's have a roll call vote.
I need a vote.
I move
We need a motion, sorry.
I move we adopt resolution R-44-16.
Second.
Okay, now can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Commissioner Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Hines?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, our next resolution, number R-45-16.
A resolution approving the fiscal year 2016 recreational trails program application for the Piqua Great Miami River Recreational Trail Maintenance Project and authorizing the city manager to submit the application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
I'd like to ask the commission to table this item indefinitely. We found out today that the particular work that we plan to do with this grant, we're not eligible for that type of work, so it is really unnecessary to apply for the funding. So we'd ask you just for an indefinite table on it.
Moved indefinitely table this ordinance,
Second.
resolution.
Okay, so we need a verbal roll call vote for the table.
Commissioner Vogt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Hines?
Aye. Okay, now we move into the public comment. Is there any more public comment this evening? Okay, then we will move into the city manager's report.
Thank you. I have a number of items to share with you tonight. Earlier this week, the Dayton Business Journal conducted a poll to determine the most livable community in the Dayton region. We had lots of citizens respond to the poll, and Piqua won the first round with 63% of the voting. I'm sure some of the candidates tonight would like to have that 63%, but it's quite an overwhelming number. I think the next closest was about 4 or 5%. The poll will continue with head-to-head voting with other cities in the next few days, and I hope that Piqua residents again respond and make sure that we're acknowledged as the most livable city in the Dayton region, because I truly believe we are. The American Public Power Association today recognized our power department with the Certificate of Excellence in Reliability for 2015. The award demonstrates that Piqua Power significantly outperforms the electric industry national averages, which is collected by the Energy Information Administration. This is another great award for the city of Piqua, and another great award received by the Piqua Power Department. Our Employee Give Committee provided a new distribution of non-perishable foods to Piqua High School students for the spring break period. This is a great program that provides valuable assistance to less fortunate students and plays a very big role within the community for us. This Thursday, March 17th, we will be hosting a regional workforce summit. It's titled Winning the Workforce War at Fort Piqua Plaza from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is for businesses, education, and government leaders to learn how communities and organizations are working with employers to win the regional and national war for talent. It's sponsored by the West Central Ohio Development Coalition, and Justin, of course, is very involved with this as part of putting this on. And I think to date, we have approximately 140 participants registered. So it'd be a good workshop that we're looking forward to having some great attendance here in Piqua for this coming Thursday. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm just curious, I've had a few people ask about the 4th of July on the river this year. At what point will we have a little more information on that? Because a lot of people are anxious to see what you're going to come up with.
Well, if you read my blog, there's a little bit of information
Little
out
bit.
there. So basically, the daytime events will be held at Fountain Park again from 10 to 3. We have a lot of special activities for children and for everyone that should draw a lot of attendance, including musical entertainment and different types of, like a zip line and various things like that people can really get involved with. We'll have the nonprofit booths and church booths selling food there. So we're expecting a huge crowd for the daytime activities. And then about 6 o'clock in the evening, we move over to Loch 9 Park for music and fireworks. And we have 2 bands that we're playing. The headliner for that night is the Coasters, which is a nationally known, if you date back that late, you'd enjoy them. So everybody will enjoy, have a good time and so forth. And with a tremendous fireworks show right there on the river that we'll be shooting from downriver, not in, some people think we're putting it off right in Loch 9 Park. That's not the case. You certainly will see it from Loch 9, but our fire department is coordinating with professional pyrotechnic companies to do this. So should be a great day, a lot of new things happening within the event, and should be a great day for the community.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I just haven't heard much publicly yet, and
Read my blog.
I'll have to do that, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Gary? Okay, well, commissioners, do we have any comments? We're going to start down there with you.
None whatsoever.
Commissioner Martin?
We got the bags from the Boy Scouts, I think it was Saturday. I think they want them back by either this Saturday or next Saturday, so everybody give to them so that way they can do a good job getting food out.
Great.
That was it.
Great program. Okay. Commissioner Wilson?
I don't have anything tonight.
Commissioner Terry?
Just to wish Tom Christie a happy retirement. I know where he's going to spend some of his time.
Great, thank you. I have a few things just to mention. One is the men's chorus. Our high school men's chorus received a superior rating at the state competition this past week, so that's a wonderful celebration for Tom Westfall and the folks at the high school. Also, I was in a meeting today. The Active Living Committee of our community comes together every once in a while, and you know, we have a lot going on in our community, especially around healthy initiatives. You know, you can just look outside, and especially tonight because the weather was so pretty, people are outside, they're riding their bikes, they're walking, they're getting active, which is wonderful, and there's a whole movement to encourage our community to get more and more active. Many of you know the 6th graders at Central Intermediate School are running 3 days a week, and we'll be running in the 5K that the high school cross-country team is putting on in May, and they've been practicing and trying to get physically fit to be able to do that. But it's exciting to get together with these other folks who are physically aware of getting ourselves moving in our community. So I just put that out there because there's going to be more and more information, whether it's on a bike, Jim Hemmert, or whether it is through your feet, running or walking or whatever else. There are a lot of great things going on in our community to get ourselves active and moving. Also, last week, I was able to go to Columbus with one of our residents of our community, Jason McCabe, who spoke at the Developmental Disability Awareness and Advocacy Day. He did a wonderful job and really represented our community well, so I just want to give a great shout out to Jason and just thank him for the good job that he did in Columbus last week. Also, I noticed that our police department has been in the news quite a bit this past week with some new tactics that they are taking that appear to be very effective to eliminate heroin overdose deaths in our community. Even if the victim is an addict, they are taking some new moves in that direction. So it's exciting to hear that and to know that that is active here in our community. Also, the Kiwanis had a wonderful breakfast this past week, so we give thanks to all the good work that they do here in our community for our children and throughout the community, the good stuff that they do. If there's nothing else, let's take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.